Welcome to the Coffee Experts Club. If you're at all interested in anything we talk about in this episode, go ahead and check out the description down below, or if you even just want to know more about us, click on the links below. Now on to the episode. Hey!
Coffee Experts Club.
Hey. Welcome. Coffee Experts Club. Dearest Aaron is out for the day today. I think he's doing annual planning with another client right now, working on getting ready for the 2020, the big 2026. Welcome everybody. If you are thinking about starting a coffee shop, or in the middle of starting your first coffee shop, or if you're thinking about growing your drive-through coffee shop, this is the place to be. Coffee Experts Club. Drew, good to see you, sir.
Nice to be here. Nice to see you. How's the weather up there?
I mean, it's Washington.
It's a little dreary.
Honestly, it hasn't snowed yet, which is kind of disappointing. Now that now that I'm not in the coffee business where I have to drive around to 15 locations a day, I actually like the snow, and I kind of am sad that we haven't gotten any yet. So I'm looking forward to getting some soon. But we'll see if that happens. How about you? How's the weather down there?
That's great. I mean, one of the benefits and drawbacks of this place is every day is very similar, So when I'm hearing news stories or seeing photos and it's like, oh, massive snowstorm, like, oh, I forgot it was not summertime there, because it's always summertime here, But it's like Hotel California, where every day I wake up, the sun comes up and sets at the same time.
See, that is the thing. Like, I feel like, I'm sure they call it paradise for a reason, but I don't know if I could do a Christmas without it being cold outside. That would be so weird. I mean, I've been Washington my whole life. You're used to having 20-degree weather during Christmas.
Yeah, that one does kind of get me sometimes, where it's not, there's less magic in Christmas when I'm sweating out in the sunshine. I want to be bundled up. People here decorate and it's beautiful and it's fun, you know what I mean? But it's like shorts and t-shirt weather. It's just, I don't know. It just doesn't, it's not what I'm used to, not what I was raised with.
That would be a tough one.
Yeah, it gets me.
Anywho, what are we talking about today, sir?
So today we wanted to discuss some tools, some handy, useful mechanisms that we've built and put in place over the years to help the shop run smoothly. I mean, we've been put in some interesting predicaments down here where we're mostly remote, or we're all fully remote if Aaron and I are both in the States. Excuse me. And, how do we keep not only peace of mind that things are working fine, but really ensure that each task, project, necessity gets carried out from A all the way through Z?
Mm-hmm.
And as we all know, if we're in coffee, that the shops are an organic thing. They're growing, they're changing, they're moving, they're shaking, they're falling asleep at the wheel. There's always something happening. And we as the leader, it's our responsibility to make sure that it is first of all, profitable. Second of all, enjoyable place to work. And when your business is in disarray, it's probably not very fun to work there, which we both experienced, and then come out the other side of that. So what I'd like to talk about today a little bit, touch some base on, is some sheets, some tools, some quick guides, some mechanisms, some nice handy things we lean on to make sure our business stays afloat when we're all distracted or working on other things.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, I remember back in the day, it was always like the last thing you thought about was always the first thing the customer noticed, and that was like the bathroom toilets. They used to, always harp about that. And like, if you can't keep the bathroom toilets clean, then like if a customer comes in, it doesn't matter how great the coffee is. If the bathroom's gross, they're like, I'm out of here. Mm-hmm. But it's just one of those things that like, if you don't keep it forefront, and it's hard to keep it forefront in mind, especially for your baristas, if they're slaying drinks all day, like everybody always forgets about the bathroom because you don't see it. You don't go in there. You've got an employee bathroom. But it's like all of those things add up inside your shops that create the customer experience or the employee experience to work at. So, yeah, how do you keep all of those things in line?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were very lucky at Roasters to have something called A3, and it was not the most lovely thing if you were a manager. And I don't remember what all the A's stood for, all three A's, but there was an aesthetic team, and that's the one that I remember. They came in and they made sure everything looked fine from a customer perspective. And they helped give notes, they helped grade, they helped the manager understand, hey, these are the areas that your team is kind of weak in. Mm-hmm. These are areas where you're really excelling. You try to balance this back out. But it's important, I think, to have a customer perspective, and the bathrooms, as you mentioned, is one huge signifier for how much you're caring about your customers.
Yep.
How attentive you are to the customer experience. Because like you said, you do forget about them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, I think even just myself, like when I go to a restaurant, go to a fast food restaurant, Or if I go to like a sit down restaurant and I walk into the bathroom and it's like amazing and it looks comfortable, I'm like, holy cow, this place is nice.
Snazzy.
Or on the complete flip side, you're like, oh my God, this place is a trash. Should I even be like consuming what they're making for me right now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If this is their sanitary room and
Uh-huh.
it's not sanitary.
Yep. I had another client, they had a saying, what was it? It always inspect the expectation. And I
Hmm.
thought that's really smart. So it's like set the expectation of what the shop should look like and always have a way to inspect what you are
Uh,
expecting from your employees and your managers. And for us, yeah, that was A3. It was like this is what we want the shops to look like. This is what they should look like. And then they were the ones who came in and inspected, like, are you keeping up with the expectation? I think it's really easy to set the expectation. Like everybody wants a beautiful shop, but like
yeah.
if you just say like, hey, we want the shop to look good and you never do anything about it, that's when it looks horrible.
Well, and I mean, A3 was one huge mechanism, a nice, almost customer team. They were internal team, but really they'd go in with the eyes of a customer and they'd see the weeds are getting bad here. The paint is fading on this thing. Bark chips need to be refreshed. These 3 chairs have wobbly feet or something like that. And those things, I mean, they're such simple things, but they make the customer experience so much better when they're fixed. And
Yep.
if they're not fixed, that short list I named grows exponentially.
Yep.
And then it's just this overwhelming cloud of, oh my God, I have to fix all the chairs and the bark and the paint and the lines and my parking lot. And yeah, aesthetics is a huge important thing that we as daily operators almost can't focus on. And we see it every
Yep.
day. So it's like we're used to it. Our blinders are on. So yeah, a team that works off of some rigid structure of expectations, to have high expectations for the way your store looks and functions from a customer level.
And I would say if you're obviously if you're if you're just starting out and you're opening your first shop, that team is you, right? Like you,
Yeah.
because you're there all day, and it's your business. You know how you want your car to shine, essentially. But it's the once you get to the location number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so forth, you
Hmm.
can't be at every location all day, every day. You could try and drive around, but you're going to miss stuff too. So it's nice to have. For us, it was a dedicated team. If you could even pull out, if you're at shop number 3 or shop number 4 or shop number 5, you're kind of relying on your managers to do that, but they're not going to see everything because they see the same, like you said, the same shop every day.
Yeah.
If you could just grab, a barista or a family friend, say, hey, I'll pay you X amount an hour if you just come in and even just secret shop my shops.
Mhm.
My baristas don't know you, my managers don't know you. Can you just go in there, walk around, and tell me, what does it look like? What seems wrong? Here's a checklist I'll make for
Mhm.
you that I want you to look at.
Yeah. Or be shameless about it with your customers. I have a customer here. His name's Mr. Peter. Mr. I mean, Belize does this Mr. Miss thing, and I just fall into it with my customers. Everyone's Mr. or Miss. They don't always like it, but it is what it is. He's a Canadian fella, and he let me know that the flavor ratio has been off in my drinks for the last little while. And I didn't know. I wouldn't have known. I don't drink
Yep.
Italian sodas or whatever he was drinking. And I shamelessly sat down and asked about his experience in the shop. And he said, well, these things are uncomfortable. This thing is sometimes out of place. And it's like, okay, I can't be upset. I can't take this as a negative criticism because really what I'm getting is valuable information.
Yep.
Because if this guy is experiencing it, I'm sure dozens of other people are also seeing and feeling and, the drink's tasting wrong. And, shamelessly just reaching out and being like, hey, I'm the owner, or I'm the manager, or whatever it is, talking to a group of customers that you see all the time, say, how's your experience? Really let me know. Don't just sugarcoat it. I mean, our customers love us, right? So
Yep.
they're probably not going to want to say anything negative. But when you open the door to like, hey, help us be better, your customers can serve as that dedicated team because they're there, probably just as much as we are.
That's honestly, I think that's probably the best piece of advice for that shop or for that coffee company that has 1 or 2 or maybe 3 locations. You don't want to pay somebody an hourly wage to go and do this. You don't want to create a position. You don't have enough shops for that position yet, but you can make a $25 gift card, grab a customer who you see every day and be like, hey, could you come back through like later this afternoon? Here's a list of things I just want to know what you think about. Customers going to love to do that. They're probably going to
Oh,
come back
yeah.
later that afternoon anyways. Of course they'll do it for a $25 gift card. And if they're one of your raving fans, then they'll be like, heck yes, I'll tell you exactly what you need to
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah. I was talking about him to Peter, the manager, and I said, "This is what this guy just told me. Let's work on this." And I said, "It came from a trusted source." And he starts laughing because I've never been described as a trusted source before. Yeah, so they just like to be involved. You know what I mean?
They do.
They already feel every day like they're involved, but when you really bring them into the fold, I think it adds another layer of loyalty to the
Yeah.
customer base.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's something we talk about, I mean, probably every other episode of just that reciprocity that comes when you involve your customers into your business and say, "Hey, your feedback is important. You're here every day. You know what the baristas are. You know the baristas' names. You know the drinks. Like, we value your input to help us become better, because if we're better, then you get a better product and experience." It just works so well. And I don't know why, just not to go off on a tangent, but it seems very unique to the coffee industry.
Mhm.
We've been in a bunch of other industries, and it's very unique to the coffee industry where they're like, "Hey, I want your business to be better for me."
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I mean, restaurants don't quite operate like that, at least not as personable. And I was thinking about
Yeah.
it today. There's something about the interpersonal relationship developed between like a barista or a coffee shop and its environment and the customer experience. And I agree. I don't go to a lot of businesses that they're actively looking towards the customer base or seeking out ways to increase the customer experience. I mean, a lot of it's about revenue, obviously, but
Mhm,
as we know, revenue can come from positive customer experience. So,
mhm.
we're working on the in between rather than just the end result.
Yeah, yeah, it is unique to the coffee experience that way. So when we were in Roasters, we had a few tools. We had some like sheets and stuff that we would use. You would, of course, probably advocate. I know you're going to say yes for like a black and white like checklist. These are the 30 items. These are the 40 items, whatever. Not just like I went in and it felt good. Like,
Yeah.
because what does feel good mean? But like,
Mhm.
is the lobby free of crumbs? Are the tables
Yeah.
wiped down? That checklist type thing.
Yeah, we have, as we grew bigger, I mean, we ended up with about 15 locations, and that's hard to manage, at least,
Mhm,
uh, when you're going down to the nitty-gritty of, is the floor clean? Like that, but that is a super important detail, but it seems like a tedious task to follow. We really want to empower our managers to run their stores as if they were their actual stores. And so some of the things that we put in place were, yeah, a checklist just like that. We had a super crazy name for it for some odd reason. But basically that was it. It started out with us as regionals grading the managers on these 30 things or 40 things or whatever it was. And that sounds like a lot of things, right? But really, as a store manager, what you're doing is, making sure you're tracking people who are calling out, making sure the tasks that are assigned in the store are getting done, making sure that the baristas know the product, what's in
mhm,
each thing, what kind of teas do we sell, what's in our smoothies, making sure the lobby's clean, making sure the bathrooms are checked and overflowing garbages. The list goes on, as we know. I mean, I can name a dozen more just off the top of my head. 40 sounds like a lot, but really it's not. It's a drop in the bucket. And so it started
mhm,
with us as regionals every week sitting down a certain day of the week and checking the last 7 days of, was their schedule posted on time. If they had call outs, did they report it and track who was calling out? How many people are sick? How many vacation times are approved? Was there ever a short staff period? Was there any peak hours that we needed to give more attention to? And it developed into, we then gave this sheet to the managers themselves and allowed them to work through it on a weekly basis to kind of educate themselves on, this is what is expected from me to run
mhm.
a tight ship, to run the store properly. And so then they'd have it every day. And I actually just was receiving them today from our managers here in Belize. If you work through it on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't seem like a huge task. But if suddenly Friday afternoon arrives and you have to fill it all out, it's a little bit more complicated. But really, it was a tool to create awareness, consistency, and quality throughout all of our locations. I mean, we had 15 stores, and in my humble opinion, I mean, I was dedicated to roasters, really well ran
Mhm.
considering the volume of our traffic and the abundance of locations. I think it was really consistent. Experience was really consistent from store to store, and it was because of tools like that and just the education that managers received within the business itself.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you said, because I was just going to say, if you're listening to this, you're like, "Holy cow, guys! This seems like a lot." Like, this is this. I have one location. Just know that, like, we're talking about locations that were doing 2 million plus annually in
Yeah.
revenue. Like, these were like the amount of people and cars that would go through. If you don't have somebody whose sole job is to like look at the floors, that thing is trashed by like 10. And so, yeah, with 15 locations, but that's also to say, like, if you want to get to that point, like, you don't have to do any of this. Like, you checklist, whatever,
Right.
screw it, just go in there and check yourself. That's totally fine. Like I said, one, two locations. But if your goal is to say, hey, I want to, build a drive-through empire, I want to have 10 locations. Like, these are the things you have to kind of have in your back pocket, because if you get to the 5, 6, 7 location point and you don't have something like this, you're going to be
Yeah.
ripping your hair out every time you go into one of your shops to do a little drop in. You're like, why the heck does the shop look like this? Why is there trash all in the parking lot? Why is there, somebody dumped out an Americano right in front of the front door? And you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
It's just stuff like you may not need it yet, but you will. And it's better to know about it and have it sort of in your back pocket before you start ripping your hair out. And you're like, God, I wish I listened to them back then.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, even starting with the 15 locations and deconstructing these systems down to a one location and seeing what stops can I put in place? What things can I ensure that I have now on a really small scale that even just I'm doing myself? That
Mm-hmm.
as I grow, I can start delegating this sheet to this manager. I can start
Yep.
delegating these tasks to this leader. You can only do the job of owner operator doing everything for so long. I mean, and that's just
Mm-hmm.
the reality. Some people want to do it forever. That's great. But over time, inevitably, your quality is going to start slipping. You're going to start getting more tired. I mean, we're all aging every day. We're not getting any younger. We're not getting more vitality. So putting mechanisms in place, giving your team tools, educating your stores on the expectations and how to meet them, allows you as the leader to have higher level thinking, to move into spaces where maybe I could run another store, maybe I
Yep.
could run another 3 stores, and picking apart these systems. We'll suggest things for a 1 store, we'll suggest things for a 15 store, but really making it work for you. And that's the key thing, is all these systems we built for our unique situation, that ended up being blanket systems that have worked for dozens of coffee shops since. But really what happened is we'll introduce the system, and then the coffee shop, the owners, the managers, whatever, will organically kind of adopt it into their
Mm-hmm.
way of doing things. And that's the key to success, because really you could take it at face value and whatever, try to plug it into your team. But if it just doesn't fit right, you can't force it. And I think that you'd figure that out along the way. If you start adopting these things, picking up these sheets, teaching the systems, you'll learn naturally what's going to stick and what probably doesn't fit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know if you asked every owner operator, like, wouldn't it be great if you could just like clone yourself 5 times? They'd be like, hell yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
just run my coffee shop with 6 of me. You can't do that. So the
Yeah.
next best thing you can do is to detail out exactly what a clone of you would do on paper or on a sheet, and then give it to somebody else and then teach them and make them your clone, turn them into you,
Yeah.
to look for the things that you want. Because I mean, we've probably talked about it 1,000 times, like an 18-year-old barista is not going to come into work at 5 a.m. and, be like, oh, there's a straw in the parking lot, in the back corner of the parking lot. Like, that is just not going to be a thought in their head. But you, when you come into your shop, could be like, God, that straw's been there for 3 weeks. So you have to like give them you have to give them your eyes in a sense, because it's not going to come natural to them. Everybody, sees a new car and they're like, great. But if it's your new car, you see the scratch that's under the left, rim that's been there for a
Mhm.
month. Like, nobody sees it like you do.
Yeah. So I mean, the aesthetics team is very important, or a perspective on aesthetics and operation of customer experience, very important. Some sort of tool which educates your leaders on how to run their stores is very important. And then one next thing that I would suggest is something we always called a magic binder. And I'm sure we've mentioned it
Mhm.
here in passing once or twice. And what a magic binder was, I don't know why it was called that. I'm sure you know better than me, but really what
I
it
have no
contained
idea.
was, you don't know why?
Uh-uh.
Okay.
That's just what it was. That was the name from Inception.
Okay, well, the magic binder, for some reason, basically what it was SOPs for any store, because they were all the same from store to store, for how to manage anything from customer interactions to counting your cash drawer to filling out your tally to, we had things in there for robberies and how to handle that. We had things in there for call outs or for filling out a sick doctor's note,
Mhm.
sick leave notice, or all the way down to this is what a write up looks like. This is what we give write ups for. And what that book does really is empowers the manager to not have to ask you 1,000 questions all the time,
Yeah.
which I mean, I don't like. I love to hear from my managers, but I don't love to have to answer the same question 10 times. You know what I mean? So really, it's like, okay, well, if there's ever a question of how to do something in the store, how to handle something in the store, the Magic Binder was a place where we poured our mission statement into policies. So each policy was oriented around our mission statement. How do we want to handle things? How do we want the
Mhm.
barista experience to be, the customer experience to be? How do we want our managers to lead? You know, what's the perspective we want our manager to take when dealing with XYZ issues? So it's a little bit more technical than like the task list, the 40
Yep.
piece, 40-point task list, and it's more operational. And that also is a huge tool to educate your team, and to inform I mean, from management all the way down to your regular closers. We care about your experience here. You know, we
Mhm.
have policies around how to deal with, you know, your job. It's not just the manager feels some kind of way about you, and so they deal with you some kind of way. It shines a light into our streamlined, you know, care for the customer experience and the barista experience.
And something we've both advocated for forever is just be as transparent as possible as you can with what your expectations are from your baristas. Nobody likes coming
Yep.
into work and like guessing whether or not they're doing a good job, or like, gosh, I hope
Yep.
they don't think I suck. Like, no, this is it. You can know exactly what we think based on your reviews, based on these policies. You know exactly where you stand in the business. It's not a guessing game. And the Magic Binder absolutely helped do that with managers. I think part two of this, we should talk about how these checklists applied to those managers and where it went from there. You know, what if, you know, I come into, my shop tomorrow, my manager has only done 3 of those 40 things. What does that look like? We should probably do a
Mhm.
continuation there. But Mr. Drew, great talking to you today, sir. Great as always to be here without Aaron. I feel like we always have better episodes without Aaron.
Nice talking
If you
to you.
agree, leave it in the comments. Just kidding, Aaron. Just
It's
kidding.
true. All right.
All right, Coffee Experts Club. We will talk to you
Cool.
again next week. Stay tuned for part 2.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.